Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Terry Renner with Holding Your Space, and this is my dear friend Jeanne Mayell. Hi, Jeanne. How are you?
Hi, Terry. I'm great. I love being with you today.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. Jeanne is a good friend, a dear friend, and a teacher of mine that has changed my life. So I hope today changes your lives. I just want to welcome Jean, say how grateful I am to share this space today with someone who truly walks in the wisdom and light. Jean is a gifted teacher, intuitive, and seer, known for her powerful work reading the future and guiding collective timelines and building an incredible collection of intuitives at jeanmayell.com, which I talk about on the channel all the time and the read the
Nice.
future nights and the meditations. So really amazing. She not only helps us see what's coming, but reminds us of how to move through it with love, awareness, and heart. Jean also leads beautiful love and kindness meditations that bring peace, healing, and deeper connection to all who experience them. Her presence is like a calm lighthouse in uncertain waters, wise, warm, and deeply compassionate. Jean, it is a true joy to have you here.
Oh, Terry, that was a really wonderful introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It is a joy to have you here every time you come. I hope it's many, many more. Um, so we were talking backstage about feeling discombobulated and things that are going on the planet before we got in here, and how that is. And it's so nice that we did this beautiful meditation together before we started.
Mm.
Um, and so we definitely have to have you on the channel to do that because I really want to share that with everybody too. But talking about empathy and how to help ourselves through all this.
Well, empathy's become kind of my new thing that I'm concerned about because all the people, everyone has empathy, almost everyone. And empathy is feeling what other people feel because the fact is that we are all connected. We are all interconnected. It's science, it's reality. And we don't all know that. We don't all feel it. We certainly feel it if we have children or siblings or parents or loved ones. We can feel how they feel, but we actually feel at some level how everyone feels. And some people are more gifted with empathy than others. They have more of it. They're more focused on other people. I mean, I call those people the givers, the healers, the ones who rush in and want to take care of others, nurses, and, and all kinds of people or healers. The first person to arrive if there's an accident. Are you okay? Can we help you? And um, they really understand the radical interconnectivity of all people and animals and trees and the entire earth. And so empathy is really in many ways the basis for the gift that many intuitive people have. But I want to make sure everyone understands we all have it. Some people focus on it more. They think about it more. They want to be helpers, so they have to ask, how is this other person feeling?
Mhm.
I mean, and there's so much um, work and understanding, teaching, learning we can do around empathy. When I've taught a course on intuition 7 times now, and over 7 years, and it's a 13-week course, and I've devoted one class to empathy, one in like half of one class to empathy and ethics, those kind of issues, as opposed to just how can I be more intuitive, and which is what most of the classes are. But now I realize empathy, there's so much there's so much worry and confusion in the world and conflict in the world, and now empathy is affecting people in a negative way, and they don't
Right.
know how to hold their pain. They don't even know where it's coming from half the time. They think it's them. They think it's all inside of them. And that's the whole thing with empathy is, how do we create boundaries around ourselves so that we can compassionately feel each other and help each other without becoming ill?
Right. And I think that's so important to have compassion for what's going on around us, but not to own it, to hold space for it. And I love that you talk about that. And I just want to mention here that I've taken that class twice, and it's an amazing course.
And you're
So,
always a wonderful contributor. And
oh, thanks.
you're not a student anymore, not of mine. You're
Oh,
you're a teacher, and you've done great things, Terry.
well, thanks. What does the guru say? I don't know. And G, you are you. So,
And we're always students.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So, learning about compassion and not owning those feelings of the world, like being interconnected to the world and the light in the world and the energy, but not owning everyone else's pain body. How does that work?
Well, first of all, it's very it's an really, we're pioneers here in studying this topic. The
Thank
whole
you.
topic of consciousness and what goes on in our minds and bodies is really just barely understood. So it's complex. And so I have a lot of different thoughts about it that are all probably true. One thought I want to say I have is that when we empathize with another person, like, let's just say I'm a therapist and I'm with a client, or I'm
Mhm.
a friend and I'm with another friend who's suffering. When we show empathy, when we when we feel what they're feeling, um, on some level, I believe we're lessening their pain. We're taking some of it away
Yeah,
and bringing it into ourselves where we're not suffering, and now we begin to suffer a little bit. And then if we're very strong and we've got our act together, we can transmute it and go on our day. So that's a level of empathy that, where we did not put boundaries around ourselves. We took it on and we did some good and we helped somebody. That whole idea that if somebody, if someone listens to you when you're in pain, it heals you, it helps you. It's tremendously important that they listen. The question, though, is what happens to them when they do that? And is there a way to not absorb it as or take it away that in that way? And and I think as children, we learn to take it away from our parents and, if they're suffering, and our other siblings and other people, little animals that we have loved. And we don't really know how to do that without feeling pain. And I don't have all the answers to this. I've tried different things over the years that work. One is a conscious prayer or meditation, an intention where I put light around myself. And I doing the mantra of loving kindness for myself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be held in loving kindness. And may I accept myself the way I am. May my heart and mind open and awaken, and may I be free. It's just a mantra that, um, was created in loving to do loving kindness and in the Americas, and it works and it fills me with light, and if I'm bursting with light, then I'm protecting myself. So, um, it's funny. It's a complicated issue. So if somebody's hurting and you listen and you're filled with loving kindness, your light goes into them and they light up. They walk away feeling lifted. And so
Yeah.
that's one way that you've protected yourself and helped them at the same time.
And they feel heard, right? You
They have
listen.
to feel heard. I don't know that um, I think being heard and listened to is critical for anybody's healing. They have to feel understood. So, so you
While
can,
we're
yeah,
Oh, sorry.
no,
Uh,
it's okay.
I'm interrupting you while we're talking about being heard. Sorry.
Exciting topic.
It's an exciting topic. I'm just kind of thinking about the earth and the generations, the ancestors, and seems like each generation sets up the next generation for our tools. And the things that a lot of our parents went through, whether it was the Holocaust or um, the different problems with money during our grandparents and our parents went through with the depressions, but then also even the 70s, when we look at that and what happened there with all the love and peace, and also psychedelics and new things coming out. It's been amazing um, format to follow. And then looking at our kids, and they're interested in the experiences now. They're not interested in um, uh, the 9 to 5 kind of, uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
job.
values have changed so much.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true. And I mean, what I was thinking about when you started talking about the intergenerational issues is um, how we heal the traumas of our parents and grandparents and great grandparents, and if we can heal that, and and in a sense stop the karma that's getting passed on down, and or at least mitigate as much as possible the pain that gets handed to us by our parents from their parents, and mitigate how much goes to our kids. And how we can do that is um, is a real, it's something each one of us who has children wants to do, even if we don't realize that's what we want to do. We want the best for our children and for the
sure.
future generations. So um, practicing all this healing work and giving our children a lot of space to grow, to make mistakes, but always with love and caring, is really important for helping them work through what they're going to go through, because the world's full of all kinds of pitfalls and opportunities as well, but it's also got um, tricks that kids and young people have to navigate. So, how do we equip them to make a
Yeah,
better world? I mean, making a better world, it's like I think about this every time I do the loving kindness with people, which I'm doing 3 days a week, is I think about the whole human race evolving. Are we evolving or are we devolving? What's happening to us? We're growing in our lifetimes, but we're also growing in our whole generation is growing and evolving, and then the whole human race is. And how do we help that happen? How do we make it better so we can grow up and treat the planet as it should be, so that we can recognize the radical interconnectivity of all beings? I mean, it's an interesting topic, and it's foremost on my mind.
yeah. And when you talk about listening to people with awareness, um, really actively listening, it feels like there were so many pitfalls in the earth in so many ways, but so many great growth spurts too. And it was harder sometimes, and we're getting through that last vestige of it. It feels like, but it's a big vestige. I don't know if vestige is a word even, but that we're really going over a hump here. Yeah, yeah,
And the challenges, no pain, no gain, is one of the most repeated axioms. And I think that the struggles that we go through make us grow and make us grateful. And we learn from them. We get stronger, just like at the gym, lifting weights. So there are a lot of people who are lamenting right now what's going on in America and in the world, all kinds of wars and
Sure.
um, pain and hatred. And um, I I struggle with that, but I see it as an opportunity for growth. And I think
Yeah.
it creates growth. So we have an opportunity to become more evolved from all this.
Yeah. I love that. There is great growth going on right now. Um, and they don't teach listening skills either, do they, in school? I mean, I don't know about you, but I wasn't taught that, and
Right.
my childhood could be explosive at certain times,
Right.
even though there was great love there.
Right.
Um,
They don't teach it.
so
You're right. I didn't get taught that.
yeah, and I just want to make one point here. Well,
Yeah.
one more point is that your love and kindness meditations.
Mm.
I found you during the pandemic. And so we had not a lot to do, right? But I really searched for someone that had like minded goals and whatnot. And I found your forum and I looked at a lot of places and I found your forum, jeannemayell.com. And I liked what you were saying about the progress of the earth, the environmental issues that we were coming up against, and what you foresaw in the future. But what I really loved, what got me going here, is the love and kindness meditations. I think we were doing those 4 times a week then, and it
Yeah.
changes your vibration to meditate.
It does. You just,
Yeah.
yeah, I was doing it all through the pandemic. And so now it's like 5 or 6 years of it. It's a
Mhm.
free Zoom. Anybody can come, anyone can drop in, and no commitments, no, you don't have to pay or anything. And we just sit, it's a half hour, and we start by just quiet meditation. I actually start with some beautiful music while you're coming in, and then I read a poem. I have a stack of poems, a mile high stack, and I pull them at random, and they're all poems that are uplifting
Yeah.
from Rumi to present day. And and then we just sit quietly for, I don't know, about 10 minutes or so, just meditating, focusing on our senses. Um, when you focus on your senses as opposed to your thoughts, um, you you make contact with the energy of the world as opposed to what you've been reading and all the monkey mind ticker tape stuff going on in your head. And it becomes amazingly peaceful and serene, really. And then I start loving kindness. It's a meditation. It's an intention. May I be filled with loving kindness. And we focus on that in different ways. And then we form a circle of light. And you can actually, we're all over the world, right? People, there's somebody from Australia who comes, a few from Germany and Denmark, and then mostly the US and Canada. And we're sitting on Zoom. But when I say let's hold hands, you can feel in your palms. You can feel somebody holding your hand. It's really beautiful. It gives me shivers.
I'm getting shivers just talking about it. Yeah, and I have modeled part of this on our meditation tribe that meets daily,
Oh,
and
good.
and we do the hand holding, and you can feel it every time. I do feel like doing a group is huge. The
It
energy
is.
of the group is amazing.
And I learned the Girl Scout squeeze, the Girl Scout squeeze. So you take your right hand and you squeeze the hand it's in your imagination. You squeeze the hand next to you, and then they do the same. And then soon enough, you feel a squeeze on your left. So there's this sense that we've gone around and we've created a circle. And then we surround the earth with our circle. And it's usually around that time that I really feel higher beings. Now, I believe higher beings are around all the time, and people who have passed over, and all kinds of incredible. creatures who assist us. But
Yeah.
when we get to that point where we are creating this circle of light, you can see them or feel them or sense them more. And then we just call on the light to be pouring into the circle. Then we each jump in and bathe like, oh, it's so nice. Then we put our loved ones in and our neighbors and friends, and then our city and our country and all the countries, then all the animals, the trees, and then we bathe the whole earth in this light. It sounds a little crazy, but it is powerful.
Yeah.
And you feel this uplift, this marvelous uplift. By the time we're done, we have healed ourselves. We've healed our most precious loved ones. We've sent love and kindness to everything and everyone. And it's such a good feeling. It's just, it's really, really wonderful.
Yeah. I feel like as empaths, we don't often take a moment to fill our cup. And and I think that love and kindness meditation, the way that you have it formatted, that everybody or spirit formats it, is that everybody gets a spot in the light. Like you all get to stand in the light, and everybody circles around you and fills your cup. And that's a huge gift.
It is. And people, and I'm kind of, I'm doing it. I can sense everybody in the group and what people are feeling and what they need. And so I change it up, each week,
Yeah.
as much as you can in a half hour time. Sometimes I'll just ask everyone to ask for healing in their mind and feel themselves being fully filled with light. And there are various exercises that I run through various times that it just feels right. It's a nice
Yeah.
opportunity. It really sets the day off straight or the evening, depending on when we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. So you were talking about our guides showing up and angels. Do you want to
Yeah.
say anything about your guides or angels or
Well,
who's there for you?
yeah, I mean,
Or
it's changed over the years, this whole, the who's helping me. Um,
yeah,
for, for many years, um, I was I feel he's still there. There was a Native American shaman chief. I called him the chief, Indian chief, floating in my backyard. And of course, there were Native Americans living right where I live, at one time. And I always felt like he was around in the 1700s. And 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 one time, and so I would hear him. I mean, long before I started teaching classes, he was there, and and sometimes he would tell me stuff that I should tell my clients when they called, that would help them. And and the tribe issue, I always felt like everyone who came to see me or called to me for a reading was part of this tribe, part
right.
of a tribe of healers and intuitives and helpers, the helper generation of people. And so he was there, and at one point he got a name. Singing Eagle came to me. So fine. There he is, Singing Eagle. And also, when I started teaching classes, a woman came to my class who was blind, um, and very gifted. And she saw him. I didn't tell the class about him. I never mentioned him. She pointed out the window of this room that I'm in now and out where there's a tree. And that's exactly where I always imagined him being. And so that was fun too. I mean, she and I shared a lot about that. The other being that I would feel was around throughout those years when I was first starting out was a female and a woman, angel, goddess. And I would go for a walk every day around this lake that is a few miles from where I live, and I would feel her there. So, and she actually came through me a few times, like those that Whoopi Goldberg type of thing in Ghost, where you know suddenly you're just like whoop, there's somebody in there, and which is a really amazing and powerful feeling to have. And and she was always she I think she was just modeling for me what an angel guide would do. Like I had students the first time she came into me, and she was just going around the room with each student and um, just listening, feeling them, and being very kind to them. And there was no real specific advice being given. There was nothing that was, somebody would run away and say, oh my God, she told me blah, 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 blah. No, it was just light, just love and light. And every student was absolutely changed as a result of it. The other thing that was strange when that time when she came into me the first time, and that was the very first time anything's ever happened like that, is that I noticed that everyone sitting around me was trembling. And it wasn't that they were scared, it was some kind of vibration, a different
Mm.
vibration that humans have from angels. And I felt the trembling, like a little bird, like if you held a bird in your palm. It was as if she was holding each person in her palm. So
Oh,
it was so great. It was just,
that is so beautiful. I
yeah,
love that.
sense of the the vibration of a higher being in you, and was a very powerful experience. I was there too. It was as if I was observing, but I could feel this kindness, this peace, um, just a visitation. Really, it was unmistakable, and I think people who know me know that I'm a pretty hard-headed person. I'm really into science and the quantum science, and I don't like um, things that are just made up. I I'm I've got these two sides to me,
Yeah,
um and I
which I
started,
love.
this really happened. And she came back again with a friend when a friend and I were meditating together, a woman I met at Kripalu Yoga Center who I'm still friends with, Ellen. And Ellen's done remarkable things with her life. Back then, we were just starting out. And one day, I drove over to her house and we decided to meditate together. And again, this same being came in. And I mean, if I could have her back every single day, I would, but we have to be careful about not clinging to anything. These incredible enlightenment experiences are, they're gifts, and we just cherish them.
They really are. They're beautiful. I love that that happened, and I love that it happened for the whole group. And I remember, was it Singing Eagle or Singing Tree?
Singing eagle.
Yeah, I remember Singing Eagle coming around during meditations all the time, and your drummers would start, and I would hear them, and the circle would start, and they would always be around the circle. So,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty crazy stuff. I mean, he saw all of us as his children,
yeah,
and I felt like he had a big tribe, and I'm sure, I believe he lived at one point on the
yeah,
earth, and even then had many children or children of others in the tribe who he thought of as his children. Very kind, very loving. And all of that like goes to the earth thing about me. Like, I'm a Taurus, and as a child I used to pretend I was an Indian and run through the woods and the trees. And
hello.
yeah, it was sort of stereotyped back then in the 50s, but then I began to learn about um, Native people, and how when Columbus came, they had farms. There were millions of them, and they were organized and living in harmony with the earth. And I realized that this was somehow something that mattered to me, would always matter to me, always and forever. So
Yeah,
it's a big focus. the focus of climate change and care for the earth and care for the animals.
Um, so I just want to ask you, when you were walking on the earth as an Indian, as a how
Native
did that
American,
feel? Because I'm sure it was different than if you were playing, um, out something that you'd seen on TV. Did you
right?
feel
You mean when I was
the
a child? I mean, when I was a child, I would just go into. I lived in the first. There was a period where I was 7 to 8, 6 to 8, or 7 to 8, uh, where I would run in the woods, way into the woods, and look for paths, and just it was just joyful. I mean, it was just pure joy and love. I don't think I had any profound thoughts other than play and fun, and uh,
being?
and we would make forts,
Yeah.
like we would make forts, and as if we were in that time, but we didn't have a care in the world.
Ah, I love
Now, if
that.
I imagine what it would be like, it would be it'd be a great reverence for nature, a great reverence for every living thing. Even spiders like throw out their nets in the morning and they're fishing, right? You go out for a walk in the woods, you see, um, if your eyes are open, you see all these creatures, mostly spiders, but other little insects are flying all around, and they're up early and they're earning a living,
Right?
right? Yeah.
It it's been really interesting. That's funny you say that. I have been, you must be intuitive. I've been seeing so many little critters recently and thinking about, um, their life force. So not just their, lifespan, but their awareness of their life force and how happy they are and how, um, awakened they are, like they're in the moment. They're not thinking about the news. They're not thinking about getting to work. They're in the moment.
I love this topic. Um, you know, they do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. They don't sit around and think about what bad stuff's going to happen. They are in the moment. The other thing that's hit me recently, there's this poem that I have, and I wish I could remember the author, but it starts out with, "What if everything you ever thought was true turned out to be the opposite of what is true?" That's what the whole poem is. And I mean, it goes on. It's a wonderful poem. But lately I've thought about who is humans. Uh-uh. No, I mean, I trees have patience. They do so much, and all they can do is be right there, rooted. They can't move, and they have so much patience. And when I walk through a forest and connect with them, um, it's the best meditation I can do. It's that
Mm.
where you absorb the kindness and the goodness and the sharing. And so, um, and then animals, um, they also have, you know, they have to survive. So they're not all kind and they kill to survive, but um, but they are, I don't know, the animals I know seem so much more evolved than what the humans are doing.
Right? Like we think
Yeah,
about,
it,
um, zero dimension, first dimension, second dimension as being, a different evolution or, whatnot than what we're going through right now. And I don't think that's so. I think that the ancient ones were much more evolved than our civilization. And then as well as the cats and dogs and living in joy.
yeah. So it's just a thought, that
Yeah.
there's who we're all together here. We're all interconnected, but that we're not the dominant ones. And well, we are the dominants, but we're not the most evolved. And Um,
Yeah.
having, no matter what is true, having respect for other living things helps us, and it helps us be happier, and it helps us to learn something.
Um, Speaking of which, do you want to talk about what you feel about climate change and what's coming up from Read the Futures, from your own intuition? Um, is there anything you want to discuss about that?
Um, well, I don't think the story's all written. Um,
Yeah.
well, at least the part that humans are doing. Um, and or at least I don't know all that will happen. I can start with the Earth will always be here until it goes into the sun, and we know how that works. We're falling into the sun. That's a long way off. But um, so what we're destroying by burning fossil fuel at the rate that we're doing it is we're destroying ourselves and all the animals that evolved with us. So um, it isn't like the earth going anywhere. And I
Mhm.
think that's a less egocentric view of
Yeah.
how it all works. And so we have an interest in doing a good, taking good care of our planet. Will we? And what do I see long term? I mean, I don't see the super long term, but um, I see that humans will there'll be I see what we'll do, what I think we'll do. Um, I think we'll be migrating. It's already starting, and there'll be massive migrations around the planet of humans trying to get to a more um, climate friendly situation. And I think the way we build homes and live is going to be more underground to protect from the incredible powerful storms that we'll be seeing much more of. We're just in the foothills right now when we look at things like what happened in Texas, the storms and all, and the flash floods. That's going to be a lot more of that. And so um, we will start to build and change the way homes are built and how we live. I've also seen people migrating. You know how we chase summer? Like
Mhm.
past, some people chase summer. They go they go south in the winter and they go north in the summer. I think that'll switch it to its opposite. I think in the summer we'll try to find the winter, which would mean people in the northern hemisphere going to the southern hemisphere in the summer to avoid summer, and because summer is going to become pretty hot. And and oh gosh, I see all kinds of things like that. Recently I had a vision of land strikes, or land rush, like gold rush. Well, there's also land rush. We had
Right.
land strikes in Canada in the turn of the 20th century. My grandfather profited from that. Out in Saskatchewan and those areas, land could be bought very cheaply and then turned around overnight and sold really expensively. Well, I think there's going to be this rush. I've seen visions of it, and it's going to be for land in the Arctic Circle. So I don't know how the countries that own that land will handle it, what they'll do. I'm not sure. Haven't thought that far, but there's probably already something going on with buying land further north or further to the extremes,
Right.
where it's cooler. I don't know if that's answering your question. As far as whether we will stop climate change, that's what's really up in the air. Eventually, of course, we will stop because
Mhm.
we we we're not that stupid that we would
Not all
just
of us.
keep burning and burning and burning. But it's hard to say. Right now we're burning like there's no tomorrow. But I think they'll be doing a lot of things to try to mitigate climate change other than stopping fossil fuel. I've seen rockets going into the sky, you know, water seeding the clouds and trying to block the sun, and I just don't know how successful we'll be with any of that because we're dealing with the whole earth, and the earth, we're just fleas on the earth. So I really don't think we can control the weather, but there will be attempts to do that. And
Yeah,
of course, hurricane barriers for storms. And, I think, what is it? 80% of the world lives on the coast, something like that. So it's a
something like that.
lot
Yeah,
of valuable real estate, and there'll be, they're already talking about building all kinds of barriers to sea level rise, but I just don't think they are going to be able to stop that. Or they aren't going to stop sea level rise, but I don't think they're going to be able to protect the cities. But that's me talking technical talk, which I'm really not qualified to do. So I'll hold back on that.
yeah. Um, I see that too, though. The coastline, it's going to look a lot different.
Oh, oh yeah. And
Yeah,
that, I mean, psychics have been predicting like 20 miles inland, um, a loss of coastline. That was the first thing I learned when I just started looking into the psychic world. Back in the early 80s, I started, you know, paying attention to psychics. And that was the very first thing was predictions about the coastline changes along the East Coast.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that's now that's part of the science.
right. What do you see on the West Coast? Speaking of which,
I, you know what, Terry, I haven't really looked at it. I know what
yeah,
um, people like Edgar Casey and Elwood Babbitt were saying stuff about the West Coast, really, um, really scary stuff, um,
yeah,
falling
yeah,
into the sea and all that. But I haven't really looked at it. I don't, I'm not, there's nothing really that people don't already see happening. The fires, for example,
yeah,
becoming much more intense and more prevalent, and the fire season longer. But um,
yeah. It's interesting. I'm just thinking back to this, and it just popped into my head out of nowhere that my son, at a very early age, was talking about putting up protective shields for the big storms and creating a shield for tornadoes. And I'm like, oh yeah, he already talked about that. I forgot.
that's interesting, sort of in
Yeah.
the mind of a child.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
predict
Yeah. So
seeing,
simple.
seeing the need, seeing the need. I see people living underground, um, and I think that is going to be a big factor of building down instead of up.
Yeah.
Or at least at a minimum, having a place to go to escape to. Um, there's already elaborate underground housing. You can find it on the web. Um, really fancy rooms and whole living rooms and kitchens and everything. But it makes sense to go down, and then have some above ground space. We're talking we really predicting how turbulent the weather will get and how hot,
Yeah.
how to
Um,
protect from it.
and then moving forward, because I know when we do read the future nights, which I love doing these, and you
You're
have
good at it.
oh, thanks. It's just fun, and we're with the same group, and it's interesting to see what everybody sees. But can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I just want to say about how good you are at it. You and well, everybody's pretty good who does it, but
Yeah, amazing.
just this past week, we have this wonderful volunteer, former resigned librarian, retired librarian, who has taken upon herself to find hits for us,
She's
and
amazing.
Lenore. And
Mhm.
so every week she sends me a bunch of hits that she just goes, combs all our predictions and puts them in some kind of a Google search engine and finds hits. And they're not all the hits. They are the ones that Google will turn up, but there's lots of hits that come because of symbolic visions that Google wouldn't notice. that we have. So we could really comb it and get even more. But last week alone, she just when we divide them up into categories. So I think it was an might have been a people category. We do politics, political predictions, predictions about popular culture and people, technology and science, climate and earth, and pandemics, if that comes up. I think that's our list. Oh, and the economy is now starting to, we're getting enough
Yeah.
predictions now. We have a separate category. But on the people section, I think she just posted like six predictions, just people. So that's just maybe 1/5. We get usually about 20 to 30 hits a week of what we're seeing. And three of them were yours,
Oh,
and three were Tanya, who is a nurse and is a huge empath, and
oh, amazing.
the two of you just come up with the most interesting things. So yeah, I don't know if that's answering your question, but yes, we do get, oh, I don't know, 1,200 hits a year, something like that. Some of the hits are absolutely dead on,
Yeah.
very specific. There's going to be a shooting and it'll be in, such and such a place or something like that. Or I love the technology and science ones, new discoveries. In fact, at one point, a new planet was
Oh,
discovered
I
and,
love that.
and it was predicted, and that's pretty unusual and unexpected, something like that. But the predictions are really fun, and really the reason I do them is so that we can see what we've done and correct ourselves, get better at it. If you see what, if somebody's tracking what you have seen and
Hmm.
we've posted, and they're tracking it and they can tell you how it was right, then you learn something about where you're, when you're right and when you have errors. And there's a woman named Love, these are all aliases, and she is a musician, and she sees a lot of symbolic predictions with music. And she
Hmm.
sees other symbols too. She has a whole set of symbols. And I see symbols too. I used to, when I gave readings for people, I had like a whole repertoire of symbols. So, like an empty coat hanger would mean that somebody was going to be moving and leaving, somebody else would stay and one person would leave. That's a symbolic and um, vision. But she would get these songs and they would be right on it. They would tell us something about what was going to happen. And those are really fun. So
She's amazing.
yeah,
Love
she is.
Doers.
She
Yeah.
is. She's very
So
beautiful in her
calming.
um in her vibration is very beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And everybody's predictions are different in the sense of they have like a fingerprint or you know, um, Bluebell is another one. She is very matter of fact, very um, solidly matter of fact, and her predictions will come right out and boom. Um, I don't, I can't think of one at the moment, but um, it's just, I don't really want to get into politics. She's very accurate political predictions. That's why I can't think of them.
Yeah.
But
So
she is very accurate in her predictions, and it goes on and on. We have somebody named C. Holly, who's Canadian and is able to see a lot more international stuff um, than some of us Americans who are more focused on our own domestic country. And she picks up a lot. She says we need more international, and I agree. I
really
just,
good.
my sense of my consciousness doesn't go there as much. So
Yeah. Yeah. I go where I've traveled and every once in a while I'll pull something else out, but it's where I've traveled or I think I'm the only one that does Travis and Kelsey and Taylor Swift. But
actually, Andrew, my cousin Andrew, who lives in LA, definitely
yeah.
gets into. I remember when he had a prediction, Taylor Swift is really big, and it was for, about a year later,
Yeah.
and it was down to the month, and that month was when she was named by Entertainment Weekly or People or something as the 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 entertainer for the last decade. And
Right?
and so that
I
was
remember that.
he was so right on about that.
He's
So
so good. He is amazing, your
yes,
cousin. Yeah, and he's funny, and witty. I it's fun to do these with this group because, everybody has their own flavor.
yes, exactly. Everyone,
Yeah.
I can tell when I look at the prediction who did it. I can
Oh,
say,
I
okay,
bet.
it's definitely a Terry. Terry did that one. Terry did. My favorite of all your predictions is police with poodles.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
I think I looked it up. It's like she said that the police will have poodles, and I thought, well, I can see why they might, because first of all, having police dogs who are cute and
Mhm.
friendly, it will help relationships in neighborhoods. Poodles are also non-allergenic. And then I looked it all up and I found out that in Japan the police do have poodles. So you you hit on something there. They are using poodles already. So
I loved it. I
I
loved
loved
it.
it
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
But
so stuff.
the main thing that I know that people read our predictions to get a sense of what's going to happen, but
Mhm.
um, and you can probably read them all together and try to get a vibe about where we're headed. But I I caution people to take them too literally, because the point of posting predictions wasn't so that people can see the future. Um, we'd be awfully arrogant if we claimed that we know what's going to happen. The future is, there's things in the future that we can't know because we have no point of reference for it. We can't see something that doesn't even exist in any form right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like me seeing that people will move from the northern hemisphere to the southern to chase after winter, I have a point of reference for that, right? But there are going to be things in the future that we have no point of reference. And nobody predicted the internet. No one, except Ray Bradbury, who's a fiction
Mhm.
writer. And that brings up the fact that doing psychic readings and prediction is a creative process. It's if you're really pure with it, if you're really doing it in the most pure form, then you've cleared your mind and your nervous system is picking up energy that is coming at us, and you're able to even ride yourself into the future and pick up that energy. Well, that's not easy to do, but Ray Bradbury was writing, well, TV had just come out, so he had a point of reference, and he wrote this short story, Fahrenheit 451. And in that story, he imagined those little TV sets. When TV came out in the early 50s, the screens were like this big, and there was this great big
Mhm.
box and black and white. It was really, I remember as a child, I was a little girl, and I remember getting underneath the TV because I was trying to find the people in there. What were those people doing in
Right?
there? But anyway, he imagined that these TV sets would become enormous and people would put them a whole wall of a room. It was big prestige for them to have these giant screens. And
Right.
that's number one. That was pretty insightful. And then, because that didn't start until like, I don't know, 2000 or something. And this was 1952, I think, that he wrote this little
Mhm.
story. But the big thing was that the screens became interactive and people were being brainwashed by Big Brother through this media, this
Wow.
interactive, basically computer media. So that was a powerful psychic realization or vision, and I don't know what he ever said about it. I don't even know how if he's still around. He probably isn't, but he wouldn't. He couldn't be around still, but. what was going on in his mind was just creative. He was just being creative. I don't think he was going to say, I know this will happen.
Yeah. So being in that creative process and using our imagination is a true gift, like a child.
And it's the way to do it if you really want to get it right, is just make up something and and just do it frivolously. Don't try to be right. Just
Mhm.
enjoy creating something, and you may be picking up where things are going.
Yeah. And
Which
I like that because if you like read the future, the forum, the more we go through that process, the more we understand it and pick up
we
and
pick
work
up
with
more and more.
energy. Yeah.
I always tell the students, look for the unexpected.
Hmm.
Don't try to um, take the world as it is and then um, just after reading a few news stories write a prediction. It isn't really likely to be accurate. And we can't help ourselves. We do that, but
Yeah.
um, you know, there's sort of two forms of intuition, and one form is completely creative process of reading energy.
Hmm.
Doesn't involve reading articles or news stories. It's just you're just reading energy. Um, and the other process is actually not psychic, but it's called thin slicing. And um, it, Malcolm Gladwell wrote about this in his book Blink, where if somebody has a lot of experience on a topic, they know it really, really well, they've had 10,000 hours of study of a topic, then they can actually um, get very intuitive about what they're getting about anything related to that topic. It's very different than pure reading pure energy. It's actually not psychic as much as it is the brain working very rapidly and synthesize a very succinct understanding. So anyway, that was all covered in the first chapter of Blink, where the Getty Museum had paid a lot of money for a little statue called the Kouros. It was it was an ancient artifact, and and a woman who's an expert in the Kouroses and came and saw it after it had been bought. Do you know this story?
I remember a little bit about this.
Yeah. So what happened was the Getty Museum was considering buying this statue for a lot of money. I think I don't know, $10 million, maybe as much as 30. I can't remember the amount. And, and before they bought it, they had to make sure it wasn't a fake. So they hired consultants who did this, you know, in-depth analysis, you know, where they scan it for with X-rays and they do
Sure.
chemical analysis, make sure this thing is really an ancient artifact of that it was claimed to be. And it came out that it was real, so they bought it. And before they displayed it, this woman was, who's an expert in these statues, was visiting the museum, and the curator, in excitement, said, "Hey, you want to see it? It's downstairs. We haven't displayed it yet." She says, "Sure." So she takes a look at it, and she immediately says, "Have you paid for this yet?" And he said, "Why?" She goes, "Because it's a fake." And he asked her how she knew. She did not know how she knew. So this is thin slicing. I'm describing this thing. She said,
Okay.
"I don't know how I know it's fake, but I know it is."
Not right.
And
Yeah.
um, there's something about the way it looks, something that I can't quite pinpoint at this moment, but I know it's fake. Well, so they did further tests and all that, and yes, it turned out to be a fake. So this is a type of you might call it psychic, but it's a type of knowing, intuitive knowing, that comes from a lot of experience where your brain is quickly synthesizing um, everything. And this is important stuff. I mean, this is where climate scientists, for example, who really understand the climate, but even though they understand it, the climate is in an unprecedented time. And so they have been asked, like, well, what's your hunch about what's going to happen when? And those are really important answers that they can give because they have knowledge, they have skills, they have data and information in their head. And if the brain can actually synthesize all that, and they might not know how they know, but they just know. Do you understand where I'm going with this? And
100%.
oh,
Yeah.
good. So what I'm saying though is that if you have a little bit of knowledge, like you read the newspapers,
Hmm.
you think you know everything about the political scene or about certain people or celebrities or whatever it is you've read. Um,
Yeah.
um, but you're not an expert, then you can really come up with some erroneous predictions because you're you're biased. You haven't your brain is trying to synthesize everything you know really quickly, and it feels like psychic. It is intuition, but it's not, you're synthesizing. It's not enough. You don't know enough. So um, that's that's a different kind of intuition. And so I really try to encourage people to, when they're reading, psychically reading the future or reading the world, that they try to meditate and clear their head of all the stuff they've been reading and look for something unexpected because that's likely to be accurate. And I think that you do that when you do readings. You spew out as much as possible really fast. You have tons and tons of predictions. And you're just going blah, 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 blah. And I think Tanya does that. Um and and so unexpected stuff just pops up.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think there's a purity in it.
Oh, thanks. I think, talking about this, like, I never knew what that was called, that slice, but the
Thin
subtle
slicing.
senses. Yeah. I feel like it's getting more and more subtle and we're knowing. I love that knowing part of it because I think that more and more people are going to hear things. Like if you watch the news, you're going to hear news and you're going to know, regardless of the subject, that's not true.
I love that you're saying that. I feel like I'm getting that way
Yeah.
with you get to know the characters involved and
Yeah.
some of the people involved, and you start to really feel like, oh, that's not correct. That's not right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here again, Jean.
Good.
And
It was fun.
we'd love to have you back next month. So, as often as you want to come, we're here.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And
yeah. Yeah. This is just a little tiny quarter inch
yes,
of a mile.
thanks for having me, Terry.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for being here, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
And let's see. Now I have to stop. There we go.